Right, okay. Well, welcome, folks. We are just going to give everybody a minute or two just to get situated. Thank you for joining us. We'll just give folks a few minutes just to get on and get situated on the on our Zoom platform. So thank you for joining us. All right. Okay, there we go. We're at noon, bang on time. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Scam Chat. Well, Cyber Chats. My apologies, Cyber Chats 2025. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Strat Maloma with AARP California, where I also serve as the lead for our AARP Fraud Watch Network, which is a free fraud prevention and education resource that's available to anybody. The network is all about helping communities spot and avoid frauds and scams through information, education, resources, and events like the one you're joining today. So thank you for being here. Um, this is our second conversation in a weekly, in a series of weekly interactive cyber fraud conversations that we're hosting throughout October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So this is an interactive conversation, so I want to invite everybody to feel free to share their stories, their experiences, and more importantly, to ask your questions. And as always, we have a great panel, and we've also set aside time at the end of today's conversation to answer your questions, but also to give great insights, resources, and information on how we can stay safe in the cyber world. So today we're going to be talking about something that we're hearing more and more of, that it is a problem for a lot of folks when it comes to fraud and scams, and that's smartphones and mobile device type scams. How they work, what they look like, what some of the red flags are, and how we can protect ourselves from falling victim to one of those. And then we'll hear from our guests who will give us some great information about doing just all of those things. So before we meet our guests for today's conversation, let me share with you a few housekeeping items that'll help us have a great call for everybody. For audio purposes, we ask please keep yourself on mute until we invite you to unmute yourself and come on and ask a question. We also ask that please to ask a question, put your question either in the chat or use the raise your hand feature. And then last but not least, today you'll hear from a great panel of folks who will be who will be talking to us about keeping safe with our phones. But remember that the opinions expressed by our speakers are theirs and may not necessarily reflect those of their agencies. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, bring you back up. Okay, so as I mentioned today, we're going to be talking about smartphone and mobile devices, and some of these things can include things like smishing, tech support, SIM swapping scams, which are all really designed to either steal our personal information or our money. Some of the other types of scams that we're seeing related to smartphone or mobile devices can include squishing or some malicious QR codes, fake prize notifications that you've won a prize that you haven't entered, a competition that you haven't entered, robocalls in particularly, or text messages from your bank or from the government agencies claiming something or rather, or that they need to confirm your personal information or that you need to send money for some reason. And these are all the different types of scams or the different types of tricks and techniques that scammers use to either defraud us of our money or our personal information or get us to download some sort of malware. So joining us today, we have a great experts. I want to introduce my first guest, welcome her back. She was with us last week, Dr. Juanita Dawson, who serves as the Director for Cybersecurity and Compliance at Raytheon's Technology. Where she provides vision and leadership. She provides vision and leadership in developing and supporting initiatives that are critical to compliance and security, cyber intelligence, risk management, records, learning, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Dr. Dawson currently serves as the advisor to the Inland Empire Defense Clinic, the ICDC, which is designed to train and mentor a multidisciplinary team in cybersecurity skills, equipping them with tools to shield vulnerable groups and from cyber threats. As the advisor, she also provides strategic guidance, industry insights, professional mentorship, real-world connections to help align the clinic's activities with current cybersecurity and industry needs and career opportunities. Welcome, Dr. Dawson. Pleasure to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I also want to welcome my second guest, and he is AARP fraud fighter volunteer Lester Kwok. Lester has served over 20 years as an FBI special agent with the FBI San Francisco division. During his career at the FBI, Mr. Kwok worked on financial crime matters for 19 years, including 14 as a supervising um, financial crime squad, and was a program coordinator for corporate fraud, securities fraud, healthcare fraud, theft of trade secrets, and financial institution fraud matters. Special Agent Kwok then switched roles and became part of the FBI's private sector engagement team, which where he was responsible for partnering with the private sector companies to further the FBI's mission. Special Agent Kwok retired in 2024 and joined the Vulnerable Adults Investigation Team at JP Morgan. Welcome to Special Agent Kwok. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much
So,
for having me. It's a pleasure to come in on this presentation and talk to you all about fraud. I'm looking forward to engaging with everybody.
absolute pleasure to have you with us. And I really look forward to our conversation, to learning more about your experience and hearing about the great advice that you'll be giving us, giving our audience. Um, Before we go to our audience questions, I want to do a little audience check, or at least plant the seed in our audience mind, something for you to be thinking about as as we talk a little bit. So I want our audience to be thinking about who here has ever clicked on a suspicious link, either in a text message or an email, and then what may have happened after you clicked on it. And whilst our audience thinks about that, and I think hopefully I also invite you to share your experiences in our chat whilst we have a conversation with our guests. And also at the end, when we open up for Q&A, I also invite you to share a little bit about what your experience may have been. Now, let's take a few questions. Dr. Dawson, let me start with you. From your vantage point, as somebody within working in the cybersecurity industry, can you tell us what some of the most sophisticated smartphone scams you're seeing in 2025?
Thank you so much, Strat. That is a really good question. And I think sophisticated scams, that may be little overrated on how sophisticated they are, but they are scams, and a lot of them are blending the advanced technology that's out there with your psychological and emotional intelligence. And we talked last week about deep fakes and those kind of scams, which they're AI generated type scams, mostly with audio and video. And a lot of them, as victims, we may receive some urgent calls from what appear to be a family member. And these are the kind of scams that are coming through that are a little bit more sophisticated because the voice sounds like your family member or it sounds like someone from authority. And so I think that that is where that's the direction I think that these type scams are going. They're AI generated kind of deep fakes. And another one, it's the refund and invoicing. This plays on your emotion and, oh, I'm about to get a refund or about to get something, so you're emotional about that. And it just seems exciting that someone's about to give you something, whether it's money or gift. And those fake texts and emails, they lure you into hitting the clicking on any of those links, and those links may be dangerous, or some of them encourage you to make phone calls to phony phone numbers. And so what we really want to encourage everyone to do is just double check some things. If you're receiving text messages, emails, they're telling you to click on a link from maybe your banking institution, well, directly your banking institution's phone number, a reliable source, maybe on the internet to get the actual website. Go there first before doing that. Just trust your gut feeling on a lot of it for these sophisticated scams. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me follow that up. So what role does, you know, events like this, cybersecurity education play in helping to prevent smartphone scams and things like that, especially for folks who might be teaching, passing on the information, parents, young adults?
Yes. Very, very important cybersecurity education through programs like this one with AARP and also with the Inland Cyber Defense Clinic. Awareness is really the key. Building awareness around threats or technology, anything that's happening today. And on the cyber education really, really helps everyone to recognize some of the red flags. So as we discuss things, even today, we may come, let you know about some red flags that may be coming up, like I mentioned about clicking on links or answering phone calls that you don't know and giving out information. So education really plays a really, really big part. And you won't know everything right away because it's a learning curve. And this is just a chapter in your life for learning about scams. And the cyber education really, really will help you to exploit some of those scams that are there. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more we are informed or the more
mhm,
we are armed with the information, the better we can stay protected ahead of time
yes.
and also, share with others. Um, for folks who may not have actually seen or experienced something like a deep
Mhm,
fake or so an AI generated video, can you talk a little bit more about how scammers are using deepfakes? I know you touched on it a little bit with maybe
mhm, mhm.
grandparent scams, but also
Yeah.
what maybe an AI generated message looks like and
Mhm, mhm.
how they're using those tricks on our voice on our phones and etc.
Yeah, the major one or a big one that's been happening, of course, it is with the scams where someone will call and really imitate the voice of a loved one. And you are thinking, wow, my loved one is in trouble. I need to do something right away. And usually that's what the caller or email text, that's what it's all about. It's like an urgent message. Please do this, send your bank account information, and it all sounds legitimate, but you do really, really need to trust your instinct on that. Just kind of verify independently. Like I mentioned before, if it's an unknown phone number or looks a little suspicious or it may look legitimate, go ahead and check another source. So you receive the email with a link, go out to the actual website, or on banking statements there's a phone number to call. You go call the phone number that you know is legitimate. And I think a lot of families are now setting up safe words and safe scenarios to be able to detect when this is not a legitimate call. The other thing, I know we like to post a lot of information on social media. Your voice is there on social media and videos and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying don't do it, but just be careful about sharing your voice and things about you, especially if you're away somewhere and you're posting that you're away. People know that you're away and they can try to do different harm to you or your family members. And also, on most of the phones, there's call screening. And there are ways to block some of those calls. So make sure you go out to your settings to to be able to block those calls or to change your settings so that these calls aren't even coming in. Yeah,
I'm
so
actually
thank you.
glad thank you for touching on that, and I'm glad that you touched on this because
Hmm.
my next question is going to be about mobile apps. You know,
Hmm.
I always get frustrated every time I have to download a mobile app because I have to put some of my personal information on there. And so, you know, I ask, and the privacy notifications are so long and sometimes so
Hmm.
complicated to read. So my question is, can you explain how maybe some mobile apps can be weaponized to steal data or maybe track us without us even knowing,
Hmm.
you know, what exactly we're agreeing to or what exactly we're clicking on?
Yes, you know, there are a lot of different deceptive type tools out there. And what I think we need to make sure that when you are using apps and they're asking too many questions that don't really relate to what you're trying to do. So if you are online on your phone and you are trying to find directions and questions come up, well, what's your give me access to your camera. Give me access to your microphone. But you know you're looking for location. So why would the app need to have your camera? Why would they need to have that? So that's suspicious that you should be, cautious about. You're doing one thing, but you seem to, get requests for others. And I know a lot of people don't think about the cookies as well. The cookies actually, they're saving information about you. And sometimes you're on and you're really trying to access information really quickly. And it says, okay, accept all the cookies. And you're like, okay, let me accept all the cookies, where it's tracking a lot of information. And some of those cookies are really necessary for the websites or where you're going because, like maybe the shopping cart at Amazon or Instacart, those cookies, are good to, accept because it's tracking the things that you're trying to purchase. But if you're, on other websites, if you're looking for some health information, maybe a financial information, you don't want to just arbitrarily accept all the cookies. You want to look and go to the settings and you can select and choose which one of the file capture or information capture that you want to click on. So a lot of people don't talk about the cookies, but you get so frustrated with that message coming up that, hey, I'm trying to find what I want. Let me just click all. And so especially if you're on a site that you don't even really know because you're searching for information, so you don't know all the sites. And also, if you're using a shared device, you really want to be careful about accepting, all of the cookies and putting a lot of information out there on these networks that are shared publicly.
So before I go to Lester, let me ask this one more question. For
Mhm.
those who might feel, you know, old adults, younger kids, etc., who might feel a little bit overwhelmed by
Mm.
technology, but still feel they want to connect, they want to experience the online world, but in a safe way. What kind of advice would you give them to sort of delve to get connected and be safe online?
Yes, you know what? Technology is really, you're not going to master it overnight. So just let it go that, this one day, this one workshop, you're going to master everything. So keep that in mind so that you're not too overwhelmed. You're not going to get it overnight. And maybe focus on what really, really matters the most. The staying in touch with your family, your accessing your healthcare information, your finances. So if you focus on those kinds of things and get help to um to actually review your finances online or on your phone, just focus on certain areas and try to really get a handle on those kind of areas. And that involves just learning some of the basics. Don't click on any links you don't know about. Don't click on anything. check it out. Go to a second source. Use passwords, and using some strong passwords. That is another key. The passwords. I know it is trying to set up passwords for every single thing, and I know you're tempted to do this. Have one password for everything. I know you're tempted. That is not the way to go. And another thing too is when you are downloading apps, uh, go to an official site. Don't just go downloading a lot of things that didn't come from a site that is recognizable. Maybe like the Apple Store, that's one that's recognizable. The Google Play, that's one that's recognizable. But there may be some others that, well, I've never heard of this. So be careful about where you download. And I think most of all, just don't be afraid to discuss it and ask a friend, family member about things that are happening with your with your emails and texts and those kind of things that you're getting. Just don't be afraid to talk about it. So there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What wonderful advice. And I can attest to it, the frustration of trying to remember all the passwords for all the different apps that we have. So yeah,
Hmm.
so that really is a challenge. Thank you very much for those powerful insights. Now,
Hmm.
let's welcome somebody who's been on the front line of public protection and financial crimes investigations for over 2 decades. And I want to welcome Special Agent Lester Buck. Hello, Lester. Welcome. Thanks for being with us again. Few questions for you before we go to our audience questions. So, from your time at the FBI and now with JP Morgan Chase, what types of smartphone scams are you seeing commonly targeting, you know, older adults and folks? What are you seeing?
Well, thank you again for having me. But the one type that we consistently see has different variation. Is called impersonation scam. It's basically when a scammer impersonate somebody from the government, somebody from local law enforcement, from a private company, from your bank, or somebody you're related to. So basically, they'll call you out of blue. So generally, scams are work in different phases. A scammer will contact the victim or the person they try to victimize out of the blue. So that should be red flag number one. Somebody calls you from the government, let's say from their bank, calls you out of the blue, and they create, like Dr. Dawson said, they create some kind of urgency. Oh, your account has been compromised. You need to do the following things. And and at that point, the person who's trying is victimized will need to make a decision. What should I do now? And and so I can talk about different type of scam. I can talk about prevention steps later, but right now let's talk about different type of scams. The most popular one that we're seeing right now are individual getting texts from your fast track for basically saying that, hey, you did not pay a toll. You have to click on this link to make your $500 payment, or else you'll be fined. Like Dr. Dawson said, do not click on any kind of link that is suspicious or that you're not unfamiliar with. And another one, another very popular scam, Dr. Dawson already mentioned, is what we call grandparent scams. That's when a person gets a phone call purportedly from a relative, a close relative, or a grandson or a granddaughter, in which they create a sense of urgency. Say, oh, I got in a car accident and I need money to get out of jail, or I need money for an attorney. Can you send me money? And like Dr. Dawson said, a lot of times these are generated with AI voices and or AI images of the grandchildren. And where do you get the data? Some people might ask. Because nowadays everybody they post things, videos, pictures all over the internet. It's very easy for the bad guys or the scammers to gather this information and formula and create a AI version of your grandson and make them say anything they want. So again, beware of phone calls, texts, or emails that you get from somebody out of the blue. And as soon as they make contact with you, they're trying to create a sense of urgency, make you act immediately. So those are the biggest red flags. And the
Right.
total and the grandparent schemes are two of the most popular that we're seeing.
Thank you. I'm glad you touched on the urgency. So they seems to always be a certain common component to a scam. And I'm hoping you can talk a little bit more about that urgency and fear, etc. So can you explain how scammers are using urgency, but also things like fear, and maybe secrecy to kind of defraud us or to get us into giving up our personal information or our money? And what do you think we should do to kind of combat that?
Thank you very much for asking. So yeah, so the number one tool a scammer has to use on their victims is create urgency, create fear. How they do this, they can be pretending calling from the bank saying somebody compromised your account. They could be pretending to a loved one or relative saying that they are in trouble unless you act. They are going to be in deeper trouble. They could be from local law enforcement, local police saying, "Hey, we believe that you're part of this scheme." Or when I was in the FBI, I used to get phone calls from the IRS saying that I owe taxes, and if I don't pay these taxes, I'll go to jail. So even law enforcement folks get targeted these. So the reason they use fear or urgency is they don't want the individual to have any time to think. Once a person goes into once the scammer creates an urgency, a sense of urgency, the victim's sense of urgency goes rise up, and they don't have much time to think. All they think about is solving the problem. I must help my grandson, and they don't think clearly. So one of the things I always talk about is when you get those red flags, a call out of the blue, if the individual is creating some kind of urgency, I'll take a what we call take a beat, take a pause, think about it for half a second. Is this make sense? And then, like Dr. Dawson said, verify. If it's your grandson calling and say he's in trouble, call your son or daughter and say, "Hey, is your grandson in trouble?" Or call the grandson. So verify. So again, they create urgency is to create panic in the individual so they can't think clearly and they don't take time to think. You need to take a pause, think about it, and then verify to see the information is correct.
Absolutely. It's so helpful just to take a step back and just give yourself an opportunity to, as Lester says, to pause and think about it. Thank you for that. So let's talk about some tactics. Have you seen any kind of tactics around scams that have evolved dramatically in the last few years? I know you touched upon um, the what was it? The token, the HOV, the
Yeah,
freeway
HOV,
lane
the fast track.
scam.
Yep.
The fast track, yes, that was it. I actually came very close to being falling for that one. So I also kind of had an opportunity just to take a step back and pause and not go for it. But can you talk about some of the scams that you've seen having involved a lot?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the grandparent scheme or the trust loved one scheme in which they make you believe a loved one is is in trouble because of the emergence of the AI technology. They're able to create these videos, these sound bites that sound absolutely authentic, right? I can give you an example of something that is pretty widely well known, something called business email compromise, so professional. So a professional control of a company was actually full with an AI was and was full to send a whole bunch of money. So even professionals, business folks who are used to getting attacked by scams are become victims of these things. So you have to be aware of what's coming. You have to take a pause, think about it. And the last one that I want to mention is part of the impersonation scam, in which scammers are pretending to be bank security folks. These are very common lately, in which an individual, a scammer, will call a victim pretending to be a bank security and telling the customer, "Hey, we're from First Bank, and we believe that your account has been compromised. In order for us to safeguard your money, you will have to go to your bank and withdraw all your money and deposit it into this account that we give you. Now, when you go to the bank and withdraw the money, you cannot tell the bank, people who work at that bank, what's happening, because we are thinking we do not know who is part of this scam or part of this organization that has compromised your accounts. So the victim generally goes to the bank, withdraw the funds, and then deposit through an ATM into an account that the bad guys ask them to deposit the money into the cash. And once they deposit into the new account, the money is basically gone. And this is the new type of scam that we're seeing. Again, the way to sort of prevent this or be aware of this is knowing there's such a scam out there. Uh, Take a beat, think about it, and then verify. Hang up on that individual, and then through public search, find the number for your bank or the back of your debit card and call them to see if there's such a situation going on with your account.
Thank you very much, Lester. Those were great answers and extremely helpful information that you shared. Now, I'd love to hear from some of the folks that are with us today about their experience, and I invite you to post your question in chat or use the raise the hand feature to ask our guests, Special Agent Lester Quark, as well as Dr. Juanita Dawson, any of your questions that you have about these smartphones and mobile device type scams. So let's go to some of our listeners' questions. I want to invite George Concepcion. He's got a question about AI. George, you want to come on and ask your question?
Yes, I was wondering if there's a way we can tell if the person is real or not.
Through AI?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dr. Juanita Dawson, you'll care to kick us off with that, and then we'll hear from Lester too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it that would you can't really tell. And so that's why, like Lester did say, about kind of take a step back to really see what they're really talking about or telling you to do and check the second source. So if someone's telling you some things, the voice sounds like a real person, sounds like it's legitimate. There may be some things you may pick up, like if it's a business call and the person starts sounding too casual, that's kind of a red flag, a hint. Or if it's a casual call where the words and the sentences are totally perfect, that's kind of a red flag to you as well. So it's just best to kind of step back and check that second source. Go over to the actual, bank phone number or your healthcare provider. Go to their actual website to see if you can find out what's going on. So a lot of times you just cannot tell with AI those if it's real or not. So it's up to us to just kind of step back to be able to assess it.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Lester, care to add anything there?
Yeah. Like Dr. Dawson said, it is almost impossible to tell nowadays between
Mhm.
AI and real. So like Dr. Dawson said, trying to pick up some clues. What she mentioned earlier, I think, is especially family members having a safe word. That would
Mhm.
be a wonderful way to sort of verify. But also keep in mind when you're engaging with this person or this AI. Machine, try not to provide any information,
Right.
because sometimes it'll take the information you're providing it and it'll think about it and it will use it against you. So try to provide as little information as possible and ask the machine if it's a family member for this safe word. And the
Mhm.
last thing I want to say is that I do know there are companies out there that are developing software that will help individuals identify if an image or voice is AI generated or is real. But that technology might be years away. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Also, I think on AI images, some of the things to look out for is I know in the beginning when it first started, you would see maybe hands, some detail in the hands that didn't look necessarily realistic. Sometimes it's a little bit cartoonish, or the skin tones may not be very natural. But you do have to really take a close examination of those pictures. And the more advanced AI becomes, the more difficult it becomes to detect those. So, just like Dr. Dawson and Lester was saying, take a step back and take a real close look at it. Thank you for that question. I want to invite Naomi. Naomi, are you on? Do you have a few questions around audio messages and also password managers? Are you on with us? Give Naomi a second to unmute herself and come
Yes,
on.
sorry. I was
Thank you for,
surprised that you mentioned my name. Yeah, hi.
not a problem. Please go ahead, ask your question.
Oh, I just asked about the password managers on Google because I tend to keep my passwords all written down, and
And your
not
question
in
is,
not in
your
my
question,
computer. I don't use the password managers, but I know that they're available on Google, for example. And I
and
wondered if that's a safe method to store one's passwords.
thank you. And your second question around audio messages to families?
Yeah, occasionally I'll send, instead of texting a message to my family, I will send them an audio message. And so I'm wondering, are those subject to being, usurped and used as AI? In other words, they can be sure that it's me just because I don't do this very often. I just wondered about that.
Let's see whether our panel can provide some sort of insight. I'm not very familiar with the audio messages for Google, but let's see. Lester, do you want to start us off with any of those responses for Naomi, and then we'll hear from Dr. Dawson?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so there are instances in which your phone is compromised, meaning somebody was able to send a malware into your phone and take over your phone, and then they will send messages using AI to your family members. But other than that, I don't think your messages could be compromised if you're just sending it. But you got to always be aware that sometimes somebody will have some of your phones might have been compromised, and some scammers are using it to lure the rest of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Thank you, Lester, for bringing that up. The password manager, Naomi, it's really a good thing to use because keeping track of all of your passwords and trying not to reuse the passwords and writing them down. You want to kind of keep your eye on that too, writing all the passwords down. And especially if it's some weak passwords, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or using the same one across all the apps. Using that password manager may be very helpful to you in keeping track of those. And also there are some ways to create some stronger passwords as well. So you may want to do that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Appreciate those questions.
Thank you.
Would like to invite Clifton Dale Sr. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you for being with us. Go ahead, ask your question.
I had almost a situation that Lester was talking about. I had a call from, appeared to be from my bank. And instead of going to an ATM, they wanted me to go online and go to, what's that one that sends the cash? What is it that you send your cash right away?
Zelle or something like that?
Dale, that's what it was. They said they want to transfer me to their manager, and I give the manager name and the Zelle. Well, I stopped right then and there and called my bank, and it turned out to be a scam. Second thing I wanted to know, I see a lot of like AARP, they offer third party offers. And clicking on those, will that cause any harm? Like someone may have an offer for a discount on insurance in their app. And clicking on those things, will it cause any kind of harm?
So I'll just jump in and say, first of all, congratulations on catching your first instance with the Cash App situation. The second part of it is the folks that we work with AARP, our service providers, our partners, etc., are ones that we're comfortable sharing information with because they have specifically being vetted. Not we don't just connect our members and the public with organizations that we don't feel are credible and haven't been vetted in terms of respecting our members' security and privacy. That's very important to AARP. So I would say if you are connecting with a genuine AARP partner service provider, that I'm very confident that they are safe. But as with anything, you know, depending on which one it is, it's really important to confirm and check that. But yes, let me turn to our panel. If
Thank
they
you.
wanted to. Oh, thank you for that question. Dr. Juanita, Lester, anything more to share with Clifton?
No, I was gonna say the same thing. Make sure that that is AARP that you're online with in the first place, and it's telling you to do something. So just stepping back and verifying, okay, this is AARP, referring me to this third party or outside agency. Double check that, and then based on what the link is they want to go to, double check that one. So sometimes things seem like a scam. I think on one of our last calls, someone thought it was a scam, but it turned out it wasn't a scam and she would have lost something. So, but still, just that gut feel of double checking, whether it turns out to be real or not. Just double check if you feel something in your gut. And I think that particular caller felt something in her gut that something's not right. But then when she called to verify, turns out, yes, she does get a refund. so,
Thank
but
you so
And
best
much.
to be safe.
Thank you so much for your answer.
And let me
Mhm.
just add this, Clifton, and then I'll pass it on to Lester. So the number on the back of your AARP membership card, please feel free to call that one. And you know, we've got great folks on our helpline who can check whether that's something that AARP is offering with a partnership before you share any information. So please feel free to reach out to confirm that. Lester, let me come to you.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add to that other than the fact, congratulations. I'm so happy that you were able to verify that it was a scam. So thank you.
Wonderful. Let's take our next question from Helen. Helen has a question about FaceTime. Helen, are you on with us? Hello, Helen, you with us? Give Helen a second. All right, Helen may not be coming on. How about Nancy? Nancy, you have a question about getting many calls from different numbers, leaving messages. Nancy, are you on with us?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for being on. Thank you for being on the call. Please go ahead and answer your question.
Well, I just don't really know what to do to stop these people from calling me. I've repeatedly told them that when I was able to talk with them, that I never did take out a payday loan, and I never have, and that it is not mine, yet they keep calling me. And they've been calling me over several years. They'll go a couple months without calling, and then they'll call for several months, and then they stop again, and they just won't stop calling. I don't know what to do.
Well, Helen, I'm really sorry to hear what you're experiencing. Let's turn to our guests to see what advice that they can offer, hopefully make this problem cease. So, Dr. Dawson, let me start with you. Helen's situation is
Okay.
she gets all these calls from companies, well, from Capital One, claiming that Capital
Mhm.
Recovery, claiming that she owes them money. What
Well,
what would
I did call the main office, of capital
Mhm.
recovery, they said they do not, their main job is to collect money for medical debts, and they do not
Mm,
collect money for payday type loans, and they said it was a scam,
mm, mhm.
which is why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's very good that you step back and you double checked.
Right.
But on Android and iPhones, there are settings where you can go out to the setting to change those settings to block unknown calls or to stop different ads from coming through on your phone. There's a way to do that. You can ask your provider to walk you through that of how to
Okay.
do that, or family and friends that you trust to kind of sit down with you and let's go through my settings so that you can set it to block a lot of those. A lot of them are annoying for one thing, but they may catch you on a bad day where you may fall victim to that. So it's best to try to do some preventive measure and try to just change those settings in
Well,
your
I
phone.
didn't know about the settings on the phone, but I did get an app
Mhm.
that supposedly blocks unknown numbers.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
some of the calls don't come through, some
Mhm.
do.
Okay.
But
Well,
because they call quite a bit, but they fill up
mhm.
my voicemail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I totally understand. And you have to be careful also, like I mentioned before, about those apps that are from unknown
Right.
sources. I'm not
Right.
sure where you got that particular app to block. It could be an app that's doing a lot more than that if it's not from a legitimate source. So double check the app that you're
Okay.
using to block and sit down with someone. And programs like this from AARP and from the Inland Cyber Defense Clinic, they have programs where they can sit with you. They give a lot of scenarios about what's happening, just like we're doing right now, just
Okay.
giving you information. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you for that question. Lester, do you do you have any more advice that you can give folks who maybe facing a similar situation, but also about getting on the do not call list, reporting to their providers if they're getting these types of robocalls or these types of contacts persistently, and how they can help stop them?
Yeah, I do. So the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, on their website has some guidance regarding how to stop these kind of robocalls coming in. So you can go through there. Like Dr. Dawson said, you can go through your settings. That's a wonderful way to do as well. That's basically setting your phone up not to receive some of these calls. And then you can call your provider, whoever your provider is, T-Mobile, Verizon, whoever it is, to see if they have tools that can help you sort of block some of these calls from coming in. And the last thing I would say is, um, it's general. Everybody should check their credit. Once in a while, there's three credit agencies, and they give out a free credit check every year. You should check your credit to see if there's unusual or unrecognized activity in your credit, like a loan that you don't remember ever borrowing, because your identities, it could be possibly compromised. And sometimes folks take out loans, and that might generate some of these calls to you. So you might want to check your credit from time to time to see there's any unrecognized activities.
Thank you, Lester. I'm going to invite JP to come on and share a little bit about his experience with text message issue. JP, are you on with us? Give JP a second to unmute himself. JP, are you on? Okay. Let me see if I can read JP's message. He says he got a text message from an unknown, I guess, person to himself, to his number, early one morning from the credit card union I belong to, asking if I used my credit card for three various amounts from an Uber in California. He's, I believe, is on the opposite side of the country. Was hesitant to respond with a yet Y or an N for no. When I replied with an N, was advised to call the fraud division of the credit union. I was familiar with their number. The credit card was never left my house. So sometimes folks can get a hold of your credit information, even though you may be somewhere completely else. And I think there's this thing called scheming, that they put schemas on places where you may use your credit card or your debit card. Could be a 7-Eleven or a gas station or convenience store. That places where, especially places where the point of payment might be out of sight. So people can put the schemas there, which can record your credit card number, your passwords, etc. And then they can use that on the other side of the country to make purchases. Lester, do you want to talk a little bit about something like that, or how he could have lost his credit card information, or somebody could have got it?
Yeah, exactly what you said. There's skimming credit cards in which you use it in some place and somebody has your credit card information and start using it in other places. So whenever you get a text or an email from your bank asking, did you authorize this transaction? Do you authorize that transaction? I think the best thing to do is either log into your app for the bank or just call the bank again with the number on the back of your credit card or debit card just to double check, say, hey, I got this message saying that I charged $32, you know, across the country. Obviously, he didn't do it, and is there such a charge on his or her account? So just again, take a beat, verify to see if the information provided by the caller or the texter or the emailer is valid or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you, Lester. And it's always $32. I don't know why, but it seems to be, I've gotten those where did you charge $32 for this or that? And I don't know, 32, when you said 32, it just reminded me of that. And so I don't know if others are getting those kinds of messages, but seems like 32 is a number that people want.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think as we go into the holidays and we're looking to
Mhm.
do shopping and all that kind of stuff, I think we're going to see a ramp up of
Yeah.
those kind of things. So I do want to invite Helen on. Helen, I'm hoping you are able to unmute yourself. You have a question about FaceTime. Helen, are you on with us? Let's give Helen a second. All right. Helen's question, which I'll try and summarize here, is you get a FaceTime with somebody who who's in your contacts or who you're in contact with. How would you tell if they're real or not? This goes back to our question discussion a little bit about AI. Any sort of sense or something that you can share? Let's start with Lester, and then we'll come to you, Dr. Dawson.
Yeah, actually, we have seen a lot of scam that started with a contact from a long lost friend, somebody they haven't seen in a while or spoke to in a while. It's extremely difficult to verify that. The only suggestions I have is only maybe start asking them questions only that person will know the answers to. Not necessarily give that person any hints of what's going on. Again, we have seen a lot of scams that start off that way. Basically, the victim reported, "Oh, a friend of mine I haven't spoken in 20 years, out of the blue, emailed me, and we start talking. Next thing I know, I loaned them $5,000, something like that." So, other than trying to verify through only information that person would know, is my only suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Dr.
Mhm.
Dawson?
Yes, I totally agree with that. To try to verify as much and don't give a lot of information. Let them give you information. But chances are they're going to have a lot of information already, but they need to piece it together in a way that makes it sound real to you. And so that's where you need to listen carefully and not really give a lot of information. When these scammers, and like we talked about, also the face may look real on the camera, because I think you said it was a Zoom call, so the face may look real. It may or may not look familiar to you. So just be careful with that. When you're talking to them, step back and think about it.
Thank you. So, we're getting close to the top of the hour. I want to ask each of you to respond to this question. So, if you could give one piece of advice to everyone watching today, what would it be about staying safe from cell phone, smartphone, mobile device type scams? What would your one piece of advice be? Let's start. I should have pointed out who to start with. Dr. Dawson, let's start with you, then we'll go to Lester.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I think I did talk about it, the passwords and keeping up with them, making them stronger, not reusing them, across many applications that you have. I think that's really key. Another thing we didn't talk about was and this is very annoying when you get the software updates that come that come on. You get the software updates, so we need to update something and then it changes the look of everything you've done before. But those are very, very important because technology's changing, technology's being updated. So you are going to want to get the latest software update to make sure your phone is working properly. So I think that's one thing we didn't talk too much about, but those updates are important. They are annoying. Just go ahead and say, yeah, updated at 3 a.m. and continue on. But I know it's gonna look different once you're done. So yeah, I think that's for me. It's the passwords and make sure you're doing your updates.
Thank you. And Lester?
For me, is basic two things. Number one, being aware of what the scams are out there, latest scams, get educated. And then number two, be comfortable to able to talk to somebody, anybody about these situations. You get a phone call, get an email, somebody to talk to. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? So those are the two things. Get educated and be comfortable to talk to somebody to see if it makes sense or not.
Absolutely. Those are great advice for people to take away. I think you both touched on it earlier in the conversation. If it's something that gets you to a heightened emotional state, whether it's fear or happiness, if there's secrecy involved in it, if there's urgency involved in it, you know, those should be some really big red flags to push you to, as Dr. Dawson and Special Agent Park said earlier, to take a pause and step back. So regardless of what fraud or scam you may be facing. So those might be some good takeaways that I'd like to suggest for you. Well, thank you all for joining us. I want to thank my wonderful guests, Special Agent Lester Kwok, with former FBI agent and now newly appointed AARP volunteer fraud fighter. I also want to thank Dr. Dawson for all the wonderful answers and suggestions and advice that they provided us in our conversation today. And then also to my colleague behind the scenes for telling you all about this event and helping us with our questions in chat, Marissa, and you as well for the good questions as well as the comments for today's conversation. I hope you'll be able to join us next week for our final conversation as we talk about modern money traps, crypto, cash apps, etc. So invite you please to bring your questions and join the conversation to help everybody stay safe. And by the way, you do have homework, and what your homework is to please go into communities and share this information with others so you can also help keep others safe, those who may not have been able to join us today. In the meantime, if you have any questions about fraud or about AARP or about the AARP Fraud Watch Network, we invite you please to give us a call. Number is 877-908-3360, or simply visit us at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. All right, folks, stay safe, stay curious, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.